guys. Happy Monday. So we are going to talk about the actual writing. So at this point, you have completed all the pre-writing activities, including an actual story plan. So that was on Friday. So here we are on Monday. And cohort B, you are at home and you are working on this independently. And you're going to reach out to me if you need any kind of help. So this one's called Stepping into the Drama in a Good Way, because you are creating your draft. By the way, the race cars are for my oldest son because he really likes cars. So we're doing the theme of cars this week. Okay. There will be steps that we are skipping in this book because we've looked at it and we've said, okay, these are the bare bones things we want our writers to know. Just by virtue of the hybrid model, we are skipping some steps. So writing fiction, as you know, because you've started to do it, is this pretty amazing process. You plan, you list, you choose, you sketch, you make decisions, and then suddenly it's as if everything has just taken on a life of its own. Your character, his or her world. And it's the magical power of writing this fiction. At some point, your stories take you by the hand and drag you along for the ride rather than the other way around. And hopefully, if that hasn't happened already, it will be happening soon. Today's important teaching point is this. Before writers get going on a draft, they think a lot about the ways to make a draft into this really good story. But once they're in the midst of the story, they kind of try and lose themselves in it. They become the characters, and writing is a bit like a drama happening to them, which is actually the exact opposite of what you do as readers, because I watch you analyze other people's texts, and you guys aren't willing to be taken for the ride. You're much more analytical about the ride, actually. So we become the characters we read. Readers often become the characters on the page. That's why they're so interesting and intriguing. It's Friday. I'm here in my classroom by myself at 12:36. But right before I was standing outside, as I do, to say goodbye to all of you because I'll miss you. And a student came by, and this is my favorite thing that students say to me. They like, Miss Lincecum, where I was Mrs. Broder last year, I actually read now, and she's reading The Goblet of Fire, which I believe is the 4th book in the Harry Potter series. And she was telling me that she read like 267 pages in 4 days, which is a lot, that takes a level of commitment. But she, as the reader, was obviously very invested in the character on the page. She was putting herself in the shoes of the characters. The reason we can do this is because writers do it first when they create the characters. So they go for the ride first. For example, we're sitting here reading 96 Miles right now. And when you're reading it, do you see yourself as John? Do you see yourself as Stu? Do you see yourself as Cleverly? Do you see yourself as Will? John is the leader taking the initiative and making sort of the back plan. And we hear his whole inner monologue of how he's going to make it through and carry these 3 other individuals. Stu, in this moment, is a helpless sort of bystander type of thing, but we know he has had moments of strength in the past. Cleverly is not a typical girl. And obviously she and John share some kind of a connection. And then Will is the typical younger, take care of me sort of brother that looks a little helpless. And there may be aspects of all these characters that you see yourself in. This is an example from page 65, okay? So this is J.L. Esplin, and I just want to read this scene. So this is Stu and John, and then Cleverly steps in. Hold it real tight. So I'm reading right from, do you see where it says dialogue right there? So first, this writer employs the use of dialogue. In order to show that action, she then is describing it with the emotion of John, the main character, and then and only then can some summarizing take place. I think the thing we're most in danger of as writers is summarizing before we show the action. Summarizing can happen in the middle of those dialogues and events, but it really is a tool meant to move the story forward. It can't be the only tool. So hold it real tight, I say. I tell Stu impatiently, but after a few more hits and slips, he gives up. He drops the steak and sits back on the tarp, like he's exhausted or something. I'm beyond frustrated with him. Really, he had the easy job. I grab the steak and hold it in place myself. I get in a couple of decent hits, but it's not going in, and I realize that I can't gather enough force behind my swing if I have to worry about holding the steak too. Then Cleverly is in front of me, kneeling down and taking the steak from my hand. She holds it in place with both her hands and looks me in the eyes. "Don't break my fingers, John," she says with deadly seriousness. So this is from page 65 of 96 Miles. We're going to read this at the beginning of next week, but I'm just showing you, as we talk about mentor text, there's no reason we can't use this as a mentor text. The writer has used dialogue, and then a character reacts to that dialogue. He shares with us, the reader, his emotion about the actions and words of another character. And there's also some summarizing that takes place, but it's not only summarization, okay? So writers, do you see that when you write, when any fiction writer writes, just on the previous slide, you keep in mind the big plan for how a story will probably go, but you let the details emerge from the specific exact actions the character takes. Usually our scenes involve 2 or 3 characters, just like the one before. They're just like the one we read. And one does or says something, and then the next one reacts, which is exactly what we just witnessed, okay? So you're going to step into the drama of your own story in the best way possible. This is good drama, right? I want to remind you that writing is a lot like drama. Once you've written your lead, you need to reread it and become the main character. You need to stand in the character's shoes, and this way your readers will also be able to experience the story you put on the page. And so that is your task. That's the last slide, sorry. That is your task for Monday and Tuesday. Whether you're cohort A or B, your job is to be writing a draft of your story. I can't tell you the length. I know you want to be like, is this enough? And I don't want to tell you. I just want you to write your story. Is your story following your story plan? Does your story have an event where the character is showing us and telling us what is at stake for them? Is there that central conflict? Is the character acting in a believable way based on their traits, other characters, the dialogue, what we know about them? And is there a convincing conclusion to the story? So those are all the things we're looking for, okay? And this is a draft, because good writers draft, they revise, they edit, they rewrite, they make changes. So this is a step in the process, okay? I look forward to seeing what you have. I look forward to looking at your story plans in your writer's notebook and seeing what you have to say, all right? Thanks for your time. Have a good day, guys.